Listen, if you're ready to hear a word from the Lord, go ahead, stay on your feet, stay on your feet. You know how we do it here. And please meet me in the New Testament book of 2 Corinthians, the 12th chapter. We're going to be hanging out in verse 7, the B clause, through 9 in the A today. I'll be reading the New Living Translation into your hearing. Hear the word of the Lord. So to keep me from becoming proud, I was given a thorn in my flesh, a messenger from Satan to torment me and keep me from becoming proud. 3 different times I begged the Lord to take it away. Each time he said, my grace is all you need. My power works best in weakness. Each time he said, my grace is all you need. My power works best in weakness. Each time he said, my grace is all you need. My power works best in weakness. Family, for a couple of moments, I want to talk from this thought. I said what I said. Thank you. Somebody's already helping me. You can have your seat in the presence of the Lord. I said, I feel like I got some help this morning. Listen, family, in our daily interactions, there's a common frustration that we all share, especially in the African American community, and that is having to repeat ourselves. Imagine explaining something so clearly, so plainly, so thorough, only to be asked the same exact question yet again, as if you did not just provide a very clear response. It is so frustrating. I don't know who's had that experience, but family, if we're being honest, we've all been in a situation where we've either been the cause or the recipient of someone's frustration when they have to repeat themselves. It's a universal experience, and let's be real, I don't have any way to fancily put it. It's annoying. I don't know if anybody can testify, but if you've ever had to repeat yourself, it's annoying. And there's a point where the conversation stops being a dialogue and becomes a statement of finality. That's where the phrase, I said what I said, comes into play. Now, this expression, popularized by none other than evangelist Nene Leakes from the Real Housewives of Atlanta Baptist Church, is the ultimate declaration of authority and finality. It conveys a firm stance, an indication that no further explanation, no different response is going to be provided. Why? Because I said what I said. Now, it's that line that you use when you're tired of explaining. You're tired of repeating, and you are ready to shut the conversation down. And let's be honest, we've all been there. Can I give you a couple examples this afternoon? A child asks the mom, we've all been there, and if you got kids, you there right now. Mom, can I go over Day-Day's house? No, you cannot. I have not met Day-Day's mama. I ain't met Day-Day's daddy. I don't know what they doing at Day-Day's house. No, you cannot go. And the child so persistent, please, can I please go? And the parent, knowing their kid, probably knows that this ain't gonna stop. I got to say something to help you understand that what I'm saying is not going to change. So that parent might say, I said what I said. Now, ladies, let me talk to the ladies for a second. A fella approaches you, and he's like, hey, shawty, let me get your number. If he's got any game, he might say it like this, and you do a quick assessment, and you might decide he does not meet your height requirement, and so your answer is no. However, you know, if he's got a little confidence, that no is not going, he gonna try again and say, come on now. Just let me get your number. And so I know the women here at Truth are very firm. Y'all can be very firm sometime. And so in order to let him know that your response is not going to change, he won't be getting the digits, you might say, sir, I said what I said. Now, a colleague may ask you, can you cover my shift this weekend? And your reply is, no, I cannot, Susan. And they press on, are you sure? I really need it. So you, especially in the corporate, you got to draw a line because they will start treating. Hey, Susan. Hey, Tom and Tim. I said what I said. A student may ask, is there any extra credit available? You are at my office hours, and it's packed. Finals was last week. Y'all are getting ready to move out. Why are you talking to me about extra credit? And the professor says, no, I really can't do nothing to help you. And the student says, but I really need it. And the professor says, you did. And so the student keeps asking, but in order to make it clear that my answer is not going to change, the professor will say, hey, I said what I said. In your friendships, you might get a phone call, hey brother, hey sister, can you pick me up from the airport at 2 a.m.? Why did you book a flight at that time? I am not going to be available. And so they say, but please, I really need you. And so you love them. So you're like, bruh or sis, I love you. However, comma, I said what I said. I got one more for you. We just got out of Thanksgiving time. You hit up your granny, your mima, and you're like, granny, because there's one thing, especially in the African-American community, that we really care about is only about 3 to 5 people that are responsible or eligible to make this dish, and that is the macaroni and cheese. So you hit her up, granny, hey, I don't know what you got going on, but can you make the macaroni and cheese for Thanksgiving? And Granny is pushing 90, okay? She's been making the mac and cheese for the last 70 plus years. She's tired. Please stop calling her. And if she loves you, she'll say, sugar, no, I'm not going to do that. She tried to put it sweet. But if you keep pressing on, if she's anything like how my granny was, she might have a little spice in there. And so she might say, baby, I said what I said. In other words, what we are all trying to communicate is that no matter how many times you ask me about this, my answer is not going to change. No matter how you package this thing up, my answer remains the same. Why? Because I said what I said. But for some reason, putting it plain is never plain enough for us people. And for some reason, no matter how clear and concise you were, it still does not click as concrete. For some reason, even though what you said was very simple and very straightforward, we still sink into not being so sure. So what do? We ask again. And where's the harm in that, right? I'm just asking again. Where's the harm in that? And I would say that there's actually no harm in asking for clarity the first time. No, and perhaps things maybe got lost in translation the second time, and that's around about the time where you said, huh, and you're giving the response, okay, if you can huh, you can hear. But when somebody asks the same thing for a third time, we begin to tilt our head, and we might start squinting a little bit because something greater must be wrong here. Because why are you requiring of me to say what I just said again as if my answer is going to change when I have clearly shown you it is not? Albert Einstein is quoted with penning the phrase that insanity is the act of doing the same thing and expecting different results. But today I would like to argue that you're not insane, but what you are is unsure. You're not insane, you're just unsure. Whether it's a child begging for permission, a friend asking for a favor, a colleague trying to change your mind, there comes a point where you feel the need to stand firm and do something to let the other person know, I'm not going to change what I said, because the truth is nobody likes to repeat themselves. Nobody likes to do that. And so if that's you, just give me a raised hand. I want to do a count. Who in here doesn't like to repeat themselves? I see just about, that's everybody's hand. Okay, that's great. So because none of us like to repeat ourselves, this begs the question that's going to kick off our theological dialogue this afternoon. And you're going to see it on the screen. But if you don't like to repeat yourself, why do you make God do it? Don't worry, it's okay. We're We're in good company this afternoon because here it is in the New Testament book of 2 Corinthians where we find the Apostle Paul, not in a palace, but in a place of plain, writing to the church in Corinth. And family, he's not speaking to them face to face this time, but instead he's sending them a 4-page letter, probably because he doesn't want to have to repeat himself. Paul knows that if they ever forget it, that they ever start to doubt, if they ever need a reminder of what he said, that they'll have something to refer back to, because the written word is a declaration. It's not fleeting. It doesn't waver. It doesn't change. And I believe Paul wanted the Corinthians to know what I said I meant, and what I wrote I stand by. Can I set the scene for you this afternoon? The city of Corinth was a bustling hub of trade and culture, but it was also known for its immorality and idolatry. You see, the church Paul was addressing, they had their struggles with division, and they struggled with sin, and they struggled with questions about authority, and they had confusion about the gospel. And this second letter to the Corinthians was written actually to defend Paul's apostolic authority and to encourage the believers to remain steadfast in their faith. Paul had already endured much for the sake of the gospel by the time that we find him writing this letter. He had faced beatings, and he faced imprisonment, and he faced shipwrecks, and he faced rejections and countless other trials. Yet in the midst of all of his sufferings, we find Paul here pleading with the Lord, not for a change in his circumstances, but for relief from a persistent thorn in the flesh. This is where we find Paul pouring out his heart, asking the Lord not once, not twice, but 3 times to take away this thorn. We're talking about Paul. This is the same Paul who bore witness to Jesus Christ. This is the same Paul who at the time of writing this text had been blinded by the light of Christ on the road to Damascus, only to have his sight restored through divine intervention. The same Paul who had heard the voice of Jesus himself say, Saul, Saul, that was his name before it was changed, why are you persecuting me? And was forever transformed from a persecutor of the church to one of its greatest apostles. The same Paul who not by secondhand information, but by firsthand accounts knew the power in the presence of Jesus Christ. This is the same Paul who had God delivered time and time again. The same Paul who had witnessed miracles of healing. The same Paul who had been freed from prison by an earthquake sent by God. This is the same Paul who had planted churches, raised up leaders, and seen the power of the gospel change lives. The same Paul who surely knew that when God speaks, it can be counted as true, sure, and certain, but somehow, Paul, who out of everybody should have been sure, this series is called Surely, we find in this moment of vulnerability, Paul, who had witnessed the faithfulness of God, we find pleading for this thorn to be removed. Paul, who had experienced the very presence of Jesus, was wrestling with the tension of this thorn. How is it that Paul, having so much history with God, Paul having seen God move, Paul having walked with God, Paul having himself already been transformed by God, finds himself before God begging, stuck on repeat, sounding like a broken record, as if he's not a witness to God's perfect record. Now, family, this, of course, there's nobody in here, right? I mean, nobody in this room has ever been stuck on repeat, asking God the same thing over and over. So, because none of us would ever do that, just for today, how about we put on Paul? Can we put on Paul today? Okay, y'all are saying yeah, but I actually mean literally. So listen, do me a favor. If you will look under your seat, there's something in there. Don't say I ain't get y'all nothing for Christmas. Apostle K, yours is in your basket. But there's a name tag in there, and we're going to put that on. All of us together. Go on and slap that on your wonderful Christmas sweater. Put that on while you're finding it. And you're going to read that. And I just need you to turn to your neighbor and say, hey, neighbor. Hi, my name is Paul. Okay, so now that is just us Pauls in this room, because none of us would ever do that. Why is it that we, pause, just us pause here, why is it that we, having a history with God, we having seen the power of God firsthand, we having been personally transformed by God, why is it that we, pause, find ourselves stuck on repeat, sounding like a broken record, as if we don't know God's perfect record? And again, I'm not talking to y'all, I'm just talking to the pause. But why is it that we who know better still beg? Like God hasn't proven himself. And for the sake of all the pause in the room today, if you want to know why, don't worry, I've got you covered. Paul, I'm in the text. Verse 7 in the B clause says, so, to keep me from becoming proud, I was given a thorn in my flesh, a messenger from Satan to torment me and to keep me from becoming proud. And now, there are so many things to unpack in this verse, and because we're mature now, I'm just going to jump into it. There's not going to be a lot of massaging this afternoon, but we first have to talk about this thorn. You see, the thorn, according to Oxford, a thorn is defined as a source of discomfort. A source of difficulty or an irritation or an obstacle, something that causes distress, denoting sin, Paul, sorrow, Paul, and hardship. Thorn equals sin, sorrow, hardship. Thorn, sin, sorrow, hardship. He begged 3 times. I have to do everything in threes. Thorn, sin, sorrow, hardship. And if I'm being honest, I had a challenge with this verse while preparing for this sermon because it clearly says that Paul's thorn was a messenger from Satan to torment him. And I just felt like that was a bit strong. If you know anything about me, I am Captain Positive, and I just felt like this is a little bit strong, sir. I said, God, how do you expect me to get up in front of your children and tell them that you allowed your apostle, you allowed your friend, your servant, your follower to have a thorn in him literally from Satan? This is Satan. I mean, like Satan, as in the reddest flag amongst all red flags. It just gives doom. It feels very dark, not very demure. And honestly, I wasn't sure that we should start a sermon over there. I started looking up different translations to find something a little softer. I checked the KJV, the NIV, the NLT, the ASV, the AMP, and all of them said Satan. All of them. And then, y'all know we love Eugene, so I checked the MSG, that's the Message, and even Eugene had it written as Satan. And then this is what I heard the Holy Spirit say. I'm just going to give this for free. He said, son, there's nothing soft about Satan. And there's nothing soft about soul work. He said, so stop trying to soften up what spiritually is very serious. He said, in our attempt to soften things up, we strip God of an opportunity to showcase his sovereignty. I'm about to show you. But this is what the Lord wanted to give you at the top of this sermon. Say it how it is so that he can show you who he is. And I don't know who needs to hear that this afternoon as we're making our way into this thing, but stop trying to soften it up. There's nothing soft about what Satan's trying to do in your life. Don't let that go over your head. But listen, had I taken this out, we would have missed it. I'm still in the text. This is what it says. So to keep me from becoming proud, I was given a thorn in my flesh, a messenger from Satan to torment me and to keep me from becoming proud. Now, everyone in here is intelligent, so I don't know if you see what I see, but this statement is actually what is known as an oxymoron. What that means is that we have 2 phrases that actually contradict each other. I'm going to show you. Watch how God shows us his sovereignty. This sentence is actually very counterproductive for what Satan normally seeks to accomplish. It says, I was given a thorn in my flesh, a messenger from Satan to torment me. That makes sense. But then it says, and to keep me from becoming proud. Now, that doesn't make sense because what do we know about Satan? He is Prince Proud. He's the captain of the prideful committee. And so I said, why would Satan send something that ultimately stops him from adding more seats to his squad? And the Lord said he wouldn't. And so the truth is, whatever Satan has sent, must come underneath the lordship of God's intent. Satan sent it to torment, but in that same sentence, in that same sentence, it became the very thing that God used to keep Paul from becoming like the one who sent it. Now, mid-sentence, God in his sovereignty shifts the assignment of the thorn. Mid-sentence, what Satan sent to shake Paul, now we see serving Paul. I want to encourage somebody this afternoon. He will let Satan send it just so that he can switch it. Oh, yeah. And he will let him say it just so that he can shift it. So stop letting whatever messenger Satan sends scare you. Stop letting whatever messenger Satan sends stop you. Stop letting them shock you. Stop letting them shake you. Stop letting them shrink you. And what you can start doing is letting whatever messenger Satan sends, let him serve you. I don't care what demon Satan sends to my address, but by the time that they get to my front door, you are reporting for duty. I don't know who needs to hear that this morning, but God in all his sovereignty, because we're transforming lives by the truth of God's word, when he said that all things work together. I said when he said that all things work together for the benefit of those who love the Lord, by the principle of God's sovereignty, everything that Satan sends that was initially meant to scare you, now by the authority of the lordship of our sovereign God must serve you. Will you just turn to your neighbor and say, it must serve me? Whatever he sends, it must serve me. It must serve me. Now, there's one more thing that we can't miss here. I'm still in the text, same verse says, so to keep me from becoming proud, I was given a thorn in my flesh. And so I asked God, well, why allow the thorn in the first place? I'm just curious that way. I just wanted to know, why allow the thorn in the first place? And Paul doesn't want us to miss this, so what does he do? He repeats himself. I said, wait, God, he repeated himself? Before he repeated himself, he said, yes, go back and look. Put it up there. The text says, so to keep me from becoming proud, I was given a thorn in my flesh, a messenger from Satan to torment me, and let's do it one more time. So I was given a thorn in my flesh, a messenger from Satan to torment me, and now, Paul, why is you saying that so many times? Perhaps because it's important. Here's why. Let me tell you this. I asked the Lord, why would you allow this thorn in the first place? And God said, the truth is, I'm allowing the thorn to prick the pride. Uh-oh. I said, wait. He said, yeah, that's why Paul's repeating it. He didn't want you to miss it. He said, so to keep me from becoming proud, Paul knew why the thorn was there. I was given a thorn in my flesh, a messenger from Satan to torment me. But hey, just in case, and to keep me from becoming proud. So the truth is, God is allowing your thorn to pick the pride. What do you mean? Satan sent the thorn to torment Paul and to make him feel weak and to stop him in his tracks. The enemy thought that he was winning, but here's what he didn't realize, that the very thing that he sent to torment God, to Paul, God transformed into a tool. What Satan saw as a weapon, God saw as a workbench. And what Satan designed for torment, God designed for transformation. I have a question. How would you approach God if you had no weakness? Would you still need him as much? Would you still depend on his grace daily? Have you considered that the very thing you're begging God to take away might be the very thing keeping you grounded? Have you considered that the very thing pricking you is actually protecting you from yourself? Have you considered that you're asking God, that the thing that you're asking God to cut might be the very thing he's using to keep you close? Now, I mean, who would you really be if God took the thorn? And how do you know? Family, we have to be careful because the truth is there could be pride packaged in your petition. Have you found yourself saying things like, God, if you just took this one last thing, I'd be perfect. God, if you just removed this, I'd never struggle again. God, if you just fix this one thing, we wouldn't have any problems. God, if you just gave me that promotion, I'd finally be satisfied. God, if you just healed this pain, I'll never complain again. God, if you just delivered me from this struggle, I'd never mess up again. God, if you could just make my life easier, everything would be fine. Now, family, I get it. Nobody likes to deal with thorns. Nobody wants to feel the pricks of pain. We don't want to feel the pricks of sorrow. We don't want to feel the pricks of hardship. And let me be clear, God is not dismissing your pain. He's not that kind of God. He sees you. He knows how much it hurts. He knows how uncomfortable it is. He knows the sleepless nights. He knows the tears that you've cried. He knows the prayers that you've whispered, just begging for a little bit of relief. And God is not ignoring your thorn. In fact, He cares deeply about it. He is not indifferent to your struggle. And He's not saying that you don't have a right to feel what you feel. Your thorn is real, and so is your pain. But let's be real, family. We all want relief from our struggles. I don't care what your thorn is. We all want just a little bit of relief, and nobody enjoys pain. And sometimes in our desperation to escape the tension of the thorn, we make the mistake of thinking that life without it would make us perfect. And we don't mean to, but sometimes we start to believe that if the thorn was gone, that we'd finally have it all together. That's where the pride starts to sneak in. When we tell God, if you just fix this, I'll never mess up again, we're not trying to be prideful. It's coming from a place of wanting to do better. It's coming from a place of wanting to be better. But can I tell you something? That those prayers can unintentionally say, God, I think I can handle life on my own without your constant grace. And that's not true, because the thorn reminds us that it's His grace and not our strength that holds us together. God understands your pain, but He also knows that if He took the thorn away, you might start thinking that you don't need Him anymore, and He's just not willing to take that risk. So He doesn't waste the thorn, He uses it. He uses it to protect you. He uses it to grow you. He uses it to keep you close. What if God's allowing the thorn not because He's against you, but because He's for you? Family, instead of focusing on what you want God to take away, what if you just asked Him to show you what He's trying to build in you through the thorn? So instead of praying, God, take it away, how about we try, God, use it? If you're going to leave it there, you can use it. God, teach me. If you're going to leave it there, then teach me something from this thorn. God, shape me. If your decision, sir, is to leave it, then shape me. Show me what you're doing in me through this thorn. Family, the thorn challenges us to rethink our dependence on God. It makes us ask hard questions about how much we truly trust His grace in our lives. So what if the thorn isn't punishment? And what if it's actually protection? What if I told you that the thorn isn't there to break you, but it's there to build you? What if I told you that it's not there to harm you, but it's there to heal you? What if I told you it's not there to crush you, but it's there to correct you? What if I told you it's not there to pain you, but it's there to prepare you? What if I told you that it's not there to wound you, but it's there to warn you? What if I told you that it's not there to destroy you, but it's there to develop you? What if I told you that it's not there to frustrate you, but it's there to form you? What if I told you that it's not there to stop you, but it's there to strengthen you? What if I told you that it's not there to ruin you, but it's there to refine you? Family, what if this thorn is working more for me than it is against me? God just wants to shift your perspective this morning. Family, I'm still in the text, verse 8 and the 9. And the 8 clause goes on to say, 3 different times, this is Paul, I begged the Lord to take it away. 3 different times I begged the Lord to take it away. And each time he said, my grace is all you need. Another translation says, my grace is sufficient. And so in my hermeneutic imagination, I can see Paul standing there with his heart bowed to his Messiah, full of power, yet pricked, very much so, with this pain. I see Paul standing there, a witness of his Lord's wonders, yet left wondering if his Lord would satisfy his request. I see Paul standing there in the stillness of the moment, mustering up the courage to ask the one who has already given him everything to do just one more thing. And out of the thick thistles of silence that the tension this thorn has created, I begin to hear Paul plead, Lord, please take this away from me. And I heard the voice of the Lord respond, my grace is sufficient. And so Paul, he comes back, Lord, please take this thorn. My grace is sufficient. And so Paul leaves. He comes back a 3rd time. Lord, please take this thorn away from me. And the voice of God still returns. My grace is sufficient. Can we be honest? Doesn't that sound like us? Doesn't that sound like the prayers we've prayed in the quiet of our rooms? The tears that we've cried in the middle of the night? The frustration that we felt when we didn't get the answer that we wanted? I know that you've had those nights where you've cried, Lord, please take this away. I know you've whispered from your pillow, hoping for relief. Lord, please take away this anxiety, Lord, please. Please take away this heartbreak, Lord, please take away this struggle, Lord, please fix this situation, Lord, please take away this sickness, Lord, please take away this financial burden, Lord, please take away this loneliness, Lord, please take away this addiction, Lord, please take away this fear, Lord, please take away this shame, Lord, please take away this grief, Lord, please take away this failure. And every time that we ask, it feels like God responds with the same thing. My grace is sufficient. The truth is, you don't beg, you're begging, rather, because you don't believe. I'm going to say it again. The truth is, you beg. We beg, it's just us Pauls, because we don't believe. And I know that's hard to hear, but it is the truth. Your repetition is revealing your doubt. It is not faith that's making you repeat yourself. No, it's fear. It is not trust that is taking you back asking the same things. It is uncertainty. And when we beg God to take away the thorn, we're saying, Lord, I don't believe that your grace is enough. We're saying, Lord, I need something more than what you've already given. But can I tell you something? Begging God doesn't move his hand. Faith does. And faith, and I'm talking about real faith, is not about asking him over and over again. Faith is about trusting what he said the first time. Now, family, I know that it hurts, and I know that this thorn feels like it's too much to bear, but God is saying, trust me. Trust my grace. Trust that what I have already given you is enough. Family, I'm closing. I'm still in the text. It goes on in the 8 clause. It says this: each time he said, my grace is all you need. My power works best in weakness. Each time he said, my grace is all you need. My power works best in weakness. Every time he said, my grace is all you need. My power works best in weakness. Now, let's pause there, because as I close, God wants to make sure that you don't miss this. Not just once, not twice, but each time he said the same thing. My grace is all you need. My power works best in weakness. Why? Because the truth doesn't change just because you keep asking. His answer doesn't waver because you're wrestling. No, his grace, his divine empowerment, his unmerited favor, his sustaining strength is all that you will ever need to handle the tension of that thorn. It's all that you will ever need to endure the trial and walk in victory. Because the truth is, his grace is your guarantee and your weakness is your weapon. Grace is your guarantee. It's the promise that he's already equipped you with what you need to endure. It's what you need to overcome and to thrive through it all, thorn and all. Your weakness is your weapon. It's the very thing that the enemy is using to try to break you. Is the thing that God will use to showcase his strength. You're not weak because you have a thorn. You're strong because his power is perfected in that which is pricking you. That thorn is not disqualifying you. No, it's not. It's distinguishing you. That thorn isn't the evidence of failure, but it's the evidence of grace. And let me give you what I'm calling the strategy of the shore this afternoon. The strategy of the shore is simple. Stop wrestling with what God has already resolved and stand firm in his word and use it as your weapon. So the next time that the enemy tries to torment you with your thorn, instead of asking God to repeat himself, how about you just say what he said? The next time that the thorn starts talking, I need you to say, my grace is all you need and my power works best in weakness. And the next time that the thorn starts tripping, my grace is all you need and my power works best in weakness. And the next time that the thorn starts tricking, my grace is all you need and my power works best in your weakness. As a matter of fact, I am tired right now of repeating that myself. It's just too many words for me. And so I'm looking for about 3 people who don't have time for all those words and who need to get straight to the point. The next time that the enemy tries to torment you with that thorn, here's what our response is going to be. He said what he said. When the thorn talks to you about your past, he said what he said. When the thorn whispers lies about your future, he said what he said. When the thorn reminds you of your weakness, thank you, but he said what he said. When the thorn of insecurity tells you that you're not good enough, he said what he said. When the thorn of grief says that you'll never heal, he said what he said. When the thorn of fear says that you can't move forward, he said what he said. When the thorn of guilt tells you that you're disqualified, he said what he said. When the thorn of shame says that you're unworthy, he said what he said. When the thorn of addiction whispers that you'll never be free, he said what he said. When the thorn of lust tries to take away your purity, he says what he said. When the thorn of doubt makes you question God's promises, he said what he said. When the thorn of weariness tries to tell you to give up, he said what he said. Hallelujah. Somebody shout, he said what he said. Say it again. Say it again. Say it again. Say it again. I don't know what your thorn is this afternoon. I don't know what it's been trying to prick you with, but I stand before you letting you know the same thing that he said, that his grace is sufficient. And his power, it's made perfect in your weakness. I'm going to say it again. I said his grace is sufficient. and his power is made perfect in your weakness. And so the next time that a thorn tries you to oh my God, but something's getting ready to ripple right up and through here. Somebody's been wrestling with the tension of their thorn for the last 10 years, but God is God is shifting the way that you see that thorn. Your thorn is not going to take you out. It's not going to take you out. He said, I'm not going to take it out, and it ain't going to take you out. Hey, my soul. I said, he said, I'm not going to take it out, and it's not going to take you out. Family, God has one more truth that he wants you to leave with today, because he's so amazing. Can I give you one more? Truth is, thorns lead to thrones. I said, okay. What do you mean by that? He said, the truth is, thorns lead to thrones. I said, okay. He said, son, this ain't the first time that you've seen thorns in my book. I said, okay. Well, show me what you mean by that. And so I've got Bible proof. Matthew 27 and 29. They twisted together a crown of thorns, and they set it on his head. Oh my God. I said they twisted together a crown of what? Thorns, and they set it on his head. Family, the crown of thorns was meant to mock Jesus, and it was meant to become a symbol of his ultimate victory. Those thorns, the same thorns that he bore, led him to the throne of glory. Jesus shows us exactly what to do with the thorns. He didn't resist the thorns. He didn't let the pain of the thorns stop him, but he endured the thorns because surely he knew that they were part of the path to fulfilling his purpose. And in the same way, the thorn that you're carrying today is not meant to destroy you, but it's meant to distinguish you. And it may be a thorn today, but it surely will be a throne tomorrow. I said it may be a thorn today, but surely it will be a throne tomorrow. I said it may be a thorn today, but surely it will be a thorn tomorrow. James 1 and 12. Blessed is the one who persevere under thorn, because having stood the thorn, the person will receive the crown of life. Family, I know the thorn is hard. I know that the thorn hurts. But today, God is inviting you to lay that thorn at his feet. Oh, no, not so that he can take it away, but that he can give you grace to carry it. What if today was the day that you stopped fighting the thorn and started trusting God with it? What if today was the day, that you saw your thorn not as punishment, but as preparation? And if you're here today, oh my God, I feel the move of God. But he's overthrowing this false power that the thorn thought that it had over you. And before you cross over into the new year, what you once saw as a thorn, you will now see as your throne. Family, if you're under the sound of my voice and you've been asking God, please take it away, but now you realize that all along he's been using it to draw you closer, get to this